Hello and welcome to the value meta. So we are playing a value deck slash budget deck that you could build if you loaded up Arena, made a new account and started playing Pioneer today. So this is Bant Warp, and you might be looking at this mana curve of 1 into 2 into 5 and be going, what the heck is this? So this deck is built around the Warp mechanic from Edge of Eternities. Those of you who don't know, Warp is an alternate cost you can play for the creature. The creature will come in, but at the end step it will exile itself, and then you can cast it from exile on a later turn. The fun thing with these creatures, most of them are very expensive, so we are playing basically up the beanstalk to draw off these cards. Now, the core of this deck, for anyone who knows old school modern, is kind of like an old trick with Evoke. For those of you who play Commander, you might be aware of evoking a Muldrifter, then blinking the Muldrifter to keep it around. We are trying to do a similar thing here with the Warp mechanic. With that in mind, we can go for the full breakdown of the deck, and the big thing to start with is this is an up the beanstalk deck. Now, for those of you unaware, it is a 2-mana enchantment that when it enters you draw a card, and then whenever you cast a card with converted value 5 or greater, you draw a card. So here's the thing, if you pay 2 to warp a creature that is 5 CMC, you are still casting a creature that is 5 CMC, so you can gain the draw of this. Games where you have Beanstalk are a different animal, you'll see in the video after this. So with that in mind, let's look at our warp package. So to start it off, we have 5 different creatures of warp. We're running 4 of the Quantum Riddler. That's where our entire Mythic wildcards are going. It is a 5-mana free double blue for a 4/6 Flying Sphinx. When it enters, we draw a card, and then if we have 1 or fewer cards in our hand, if we would draw a card, we'll draw 2 cards instead. It also has Warp for 2. Our other big hitter is the Anti-Causal Vestige. It is a 6-mana Eldrazi 7/5 with Warp for 4. And when it leaves the battlefield, we draw a card and then we put a permanent card with mana value equal to or less than the number of lands you control from your hand onto the battlefield tapped. Pretty decent value. We have Starfield Shepherd, which is a 5-mana, they're all basically huge creatures. Starfield Shepherd, when it enters we get a basic plains or a creature with mana value 1. Spoiler alert, there's only a creature, there's no creature, so we'll grab plains every time. Then we have the Mechanozola, the robot jellyfish basically. It is a tap down warp creature, we have a few of them. That is a 5/5 for 3 mana. And we have a Germinating Worm, which is a 2-mana warp, 5 CMC 5/5 that gains us 2 life. Huge if we can get that on turn 3 against burn, because you play that for 2, gain 2 life, blink it, gain 2 life, have a 5/5 blocker. So we want to warp these creatures in, and if these creatures are warped in, we want to then use one of these 5 spells here. So we have Essence Flux and Splash Portal. These are both spells which let us blink creatures. Obviously we want to warp our creatures in, blink them, so we can then keep them and maybe recycle their ETB and keep the big body around to block with. Splash Portal is a sorcery that will give it, well, it can draw a card if there's a bird, frog, rat or otter. None of ours are. And Essence Flux is a similar thing. It blinks a creature, but if it's a spirit, it puts a 1/1 counter on it. Spoiler alert, none of our stuff are spirits or creatures. Now, with that in mind, what's our other interaction? So we have 3 forms of interaction. All of these trigger the Beanstalk, and all of them are cheaper than their actual cost. So Ride's End is 5 mana, but it's 3 mana less if it targets a tap permanent. So this exiles a creature, spoiler alert, mostly creature, for 2 mana. We have Leyline Binding, which is domain reduced by our lands. We have 3 types of lands in this deck, so it's going to be 3 mana to exile a permanent. And this town ain't big enough, which is 5 mana, but it can be 2 mana if we target one of our own permanents. Nice little trick with this is this can be a pseudo effect with the blink. We can warp a creature in, then this town it back to our hand and bounce something our opponent has at the same time to gain value that way. So all of these trigger Beanstalk. You can see where this is going. Now the final end here is our mana base. So we have in our deck, we are running a total of, I believe it is, here it is, I did not have it open. We are running a total of 3 Temple Garden and free Breeding Pool. This deck was surprisingly light on rare wildcards, so I was able to put some of them into the mana base to get us a bit more fixing. Running 4 Brokers Hideouts is a little emergency fix to sort us out with our basic other colors. And then we have 7 islands, 3 forests, and 4 plains. That's the deck. Now I'll show you the gameplay. Game 1 with Budget Bant Warp. This hand is a little awkward, but I'm going to keep it. We have not a lot to work with here, but as I said, we're playing these games in best of 1, but we draw the Beanstalk, which is perfect. So a Beanstalk on 2. Demir Cutthroats. This could be a very quick, a flash deck. Duh. Right, with that in mind, I'm going to play a second Beanstalk here to set up. Draw a card. So now every spell in our hand here will draw us 2 or more cards. We need to find an island pretty desperately. So with that in mind, I'm going to use a Starfield Shepherd here because it's going to draw us 2 cards but also get us a Plains if we need it. So, yep, we'll take this Plains, play an island, and I'm considering, do I want to Essence Flux? And I'm thinking to myself, you know what, I'm going to use this town. I'm going to bounce their creature and bounce my Starfield, draw 2 more cards to get more card selection. So we have to discard 4 cards here. So I'm going to discard Germinating Worm, I'm going to discard Brokers, and I'm going to discard another... Yeah, we're going to discard these 4. Then we pass it back. We're going to take 2 off the Crowd of Dark Tidings. So now we can do the trick that we want to do here. We'll play the Germinating Worm. The Essence Scatter to counter it, very good. We draw 2 cards. We'll Ride's End, draw 2 more cards. Now we can play the Broker's Hideout here to fix here. We'll get another blue because we're struggling on blue. Do I discard 2 cards? So we'll discard one of our Starfields and one of our lands. We'll discard the revealed cards so they don't know that we have more creatures to play. There's a Gleaming Barrier, so this might be an intro deck as well. So with that made, I'm going to hard cast the Anticausal Vestige. This will draw us 2 cards, and if they kill it, we get something out of it. Also, if they bounce it or do anything to it, the same thing will happen. So, getting rid of the Temple Garden there might have been a mistake. I should have had more options. Okay, so I'm going to play the Mechanaut, and then I'm going to tap down their creature. Play another land. I'm considering whether or not to walk, but I'm just going to swing in for 5 here. So block with 4. Make a treasure. I'm going to cast the Starfield to draw 2 more cards. Find another Plains if we can. There's a Germinating Worm and there's another Plains. Oh yeah, we get another Plains from entering. Duh. But yeah, you can see how insane this deck can become with Beanstalk on the field. Then I'll use Essence Flux here to blink it to keep it around. We don't have any more Plains to play, so we'll pass it back. We're going to have to discard a card. We're going to discard the island. We've got enough islands right now. We have it this town in big enough if something gets scary. There's a Billowing Shriek Mass. It's going to become a 4/4. With that in mind, I'm drawing a lot of cards here, so I'm considering using this town. Oh, there's a Sphinx. So I'm going to this town, the Billowing, and one of the Beanstalks because we've drawn so many cards. I want to slow it down. When I saw a player play a version of this that was optimized, they literally lost to me because they drew themselves out of cards. So with that in mind, I'm going to hardcast this Germinating Worm. We don't need any more draw with the Quantum Riddlers yet, so let's just put more creatures on the board and hold up interaction. So we have double Leyline Bindings here for next turn to move some of their blockers, and we might be able to do enough here to do a big damage turn and kill them. Combine that with a Ride's End if they want to use it. Zombify. Ooh, they're a cool little reanimated deck. I will discard a Ride's End. Nice. I do respect people trying to play a budget reanimator. We played one last week. Leyline Binding, the Avatar of Woe. Leyline Binding, the Billowing Shriekmaw. And then attack in. So this is not lethal, but they should block anyway. Puts them down to 6. I'm just going to pass. We don't need to commit anything to the board here. We have the best presence. It could be a big board wipe or something coming in. There's another Zombify. I respect Reanimator. Yeah, so I think we just go in for the big attack. But I am going to warp here the Quantum Riddler. They go for an Opt. And yep, they're thinking about it. And then we hit the Quantum Riddler. Draw a card. Opponent's on the go slow here. They do have something because alright, so I'm just going to play the Leyline Binding here to get rid of their blocker and go for a lethal attack to just be done with it. And they concede. It's a good first game. Game 2 here versus, well, with Budget Warp. That hand does not work for us, so we're mulliganing. Doesn't work for us either. Okay, Beanstalk hands, 100% our keepers. With that in mind, we've got to get rid of it. This town ain't big enough, and a Mechanaut. It sounds pretty bad here, but literally just double Beanstalk might be enough to just win us a game. And it protects us against inevitable Fortsies here. Oh, black but no Fortsies. And a Quantum Riddle off the top is huge, so Beanstalk will draw us a card. Anti-Causal Vestige is really nice. There's a Dreadhorde Butcher, so this is some kind of aggro deck. Play land, and we can have another turn setting up here. Beanstalk draws us the third Beanstalk. Wow. There's another Dreadhorde Butcher. It's going to put a bit of a slower on it. Okay, we got a Leyline Binding here just to make sure that we don't die to a huge Butcher. Then we'll play a tap land. We can Anti-Causal Vestige next turn. There's a Bonecrusher Giant, make another land. Right, I am going to... I'm looking at my options. I'm going to hard cast the Quantum Riddler here. And it's a bit awkward, but it has to probably be done because we need to find... Well, a 6 toughness blocker is huge. Okay, I'm going to block the Dreadhorde and probably die to the free damage from it going on to the Quantum Riddler, but I'm okay with that. We have another one in hand. We are down to 9. There's another Bonecrusher Giant. So, with that in mind, I'm going to hard cast an Anti-Causal Vestige here, draw 2 cards. Man, we are drawing so many lands. The Causal Vestige does stop them from... well, they do want to hit anyway, so yep, we'll take that. Go down to 5. We could do with finding some of our big stuff. So, I'm going to warp this in. I'm keeping the cost of casting here low because I'm trying to find the Germinating Worms to just gain some life. I'm then going to this town, bounce back our warped creature here, draw 2 more cards. It's a target of a spell or an ability. So, I'm not going to attack. And then we move to my discard step. I'm going to discard 4 lands and a 3 lands and a Beanstalk, I think. Yeah, there we go. 3 lands and a Beanstalk discarded. They replay the Stormfist Crusader. They don't go for the attack. So, with this done, I'm going to... This town ain't big enough. Bounce the Anti-Causal Vestige. Lead interaction here. We can then draw a card. And we could have replayed the Causal Vestige, but I want to draw more cards with the Quantum Riddler. So let's draw 2 cards off a Leyline Binding. Then let's warp in the Anti-Causal Vestige. Draw 2 more cards. This is so sick. Attack with the Riddler. Essence Flux the Anti-Causal Vestige. We'll get its leave trigger. And then we'll put in the Germinating Worm to gain 2 life, go up to 7. We finally drew 1. There's our 4th Beanstalk, so let's get rid of that. We've drawn enough cards this game. Never thought you'd hear a Magic player say that, huh? There's Azarius, King of Heartbeats, puts us down to 3 again. And our opponent concedes. Yeah, we stabilized. Alright, final match here, showing off Bant Warp budget deck. This hand does not have a Beanstalk, but it does have a Quantum Riddler, it has a Germinating Worm, and it appears that we're up against mono red. So yep, there's a play with fire. We all want this Germinating. Oh, it's a mess around one. Okay, so I'm gonna hold back. I'm holding back because if they go for the swing here, I can ride Zen this Firebrain Archer, and I think that'll be worth it because I think a lot of this deck is going to be built around. Yep, this is the mono red pingers list. Alright, so we have enough now to do this, so let's Essence Flux the Quantum Riddler. Well, let's warp the Quantum Riddler, Essence Flux the Quantum Riddler. So this now gives us a turn free for 3 mana, draw 2 cards, and have a 4/6 flyer on the battlefield. We might just die though because we're taking a lot of damage. That's a lot of damage. They are down to 1 card though, so let's take out the Swift Spear here. Yeah, Promise Fulfilled, light up the stage, draw some more cards. Thermo Alchemist, very good card. I'm going to Shock in here, and then I'm going to Germinating Worm, and then I'm going to this town ain't big enough to buy back the Germinating Worm here. I'm not going to attack. I want to just, well, the Keswick Flame, yeah. We're down to 10. There's a Promise Fulfilled. There's another Swift Spear. Are they going to attack with the Swift Spear? No, they're not. Okay, so let's gain a life from the Broker's Hideout. We'll get another green here. We'll warp in the Germinating Worm here, and we'll do the same trick again. So this town ain't big enough. Bounce the Keswick Flamecaller. They go for a play with fire here to get an additional damage off. We're still on 9, so holding steady. There's a Thermo Alchemist and a Flamebringer. Alright, I'm going to immediately Leyline Binding, get rid of the Keswick Flamebringer, play another Broker's Hideout to gain life. Get a blue while we're on. I'm going to warp again to gain 2 more life, go up to 12. I'm going to hold back a blocker. So they activate. There's a Promise Fulfilled. That's 2 Promise Fulfilled. There's a Firebrand Archer. There's a Reckless Impulse. I am so happy this Germinating Worm is gaining us life. No damage on the attack. Okay, so I'm just going to play the Germinating Worm here. Gain 2 life. Play a tap land. I'm not attacking. Oh, I am attacking, sorry. Yeah, we've got a race now. They're just getting the engine online so fast that we have to chase them here. There's a Karuka Fire Spell Spear. Right, attacks in. I'm going to block the Swift Spear. Now I'm going to block the Fire Archer. Yep, there's the Abrade. So either way it would have died. We are down to 6. But we draw another Germinating Worm, which is really good. So I'm going to warp this in. Gains us 2 life. I'm going to hard cast an Angel for another blocker. He's going to give us a land. Play the land for turn. No attacks, because the warped. We got to remember the warped creature is leaving, so we need blockers. We're on 7 life here. We are holding on by a Shoefred. They attack. Alright, full attack in. We're going to block the land, and we'll block the Keswick Spear to take the least amount of damage here. We draw 2 because of the Quantum Riddler. I forgot about that ability. So we only had 1 card in hand, so we draw 2. So let's play now the Broker's Hideout. Gets us another land. Essence Flux is instant speed, but we could also Essence Flux a Quantum Riddler to draw 2 more cards. So I am tempted. We're going to have to see what happens here. So they just take a land. And we pass back. I'm going to Essence Flux the Germinating Worm. I'm not going to play greedy. I'm going to keep my life total as fresh as possible, because we also get the draw 2 off the Riddler here. So we attack with the Riddler again. Puts him down at 8. I'm going to play the Anticausal Vestige, and then I'm going to Splash Portal the Quantum Riddler to draw 2 cards. We finally hit a Beanstalk. A bit late in the game, but we did. Draws us 2 more cards. I'm going to let the Anticausal Vestige go, and then I will draw a card, and then I'll play another anti-causal vestige that we drew in our hand. We're down to 8 here, but we do have this town ain't big enough to bounce if we need it, and I'm going to use it immediately. I'm going to bounce the Germinating Worm here to gain more life and draw a card. So we're down to 7. We bounce 2 of their cards. Draw a land. Play. Find another Germinating Worm. So we'll Germinating Worm, draw 2 cards. Gain 2 life. Play another Germinating Worm. Gain 2 life, draw 2 cards. Find a third Germinating Worm. And I'm actually going to warp in the anti-causal vestige here to draw 2 cards. Then attack in. They have to block here if they don't want to die. Puts them down to 4. In the end step, the causal vestige will leave and we'll hardcast another Germinating Worm to go back up to 13. Yep, that one feels pretty good. And they are dead to the Quantum Riddler. Good game. So that's Bant Warp.